All right, guys, welcome. My name is Camille Grant, and I am a part of Trackstar staff, and we're going to be doing the Trackstars Bible Journey. So welcome, everybody. I am Shantana's sister, if those of you may not know who I am, and I'm excited that I was offered this opportunity to teach you guys the Word, and that we can all teach each other the Word of God. All right, so before I pray, I just wanted to do a little introduction regarding the Bible study. So this is a monthly meeting. It's going to be the beginning of each Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Sometimes there might be some special guests that might come in and might have to do it in a different week or a different time. So just be aware of that, and we'll let you guys know on the private Facebook time area. All right, and I will just talk about how we thought about that. Sean, Ryan, Chris, we all prayed about this. We want to do this for a long, long time, and I'm so glad we have finally got the opportunity to do that. And again, Happy New Year, so I'm really excited about this. So let's see here. I want this to be very interactive, so not just me talking the whole time. I want it to be more engaging and have everyone share their portions from the body of Christ. So this is really important for me. Just think of me as a hostess rather than the leader, okay? So if you guys remember that sort of logo that I put on Facebook, it's John 15:4 through 8. So I want to read it real quickly if you guys haven't really looked it up and read it. This is what it says, quote, "Abide in me and I in you, as the branch cannot bear fruit of itself, except it abide in the vine. No more can ye, except ye abide in me. I am the vine, ye are the branches. He that abideth in me, and I in him, the same bringeth forth much fruit. For without me ye can do nothing. If a man abide not in me, he casts forth as a branch and is withered, and men gather them and cast them into the fire, and they are burned. If ye abide in me, and my words abide in you, ye shall ask what ye will, and it shall be done unto you. Herein is my Father glorified, that ye bear much fruit. So shall ye be my disciples." So again, that was John 15:4 through 8. That's kind of like our Bible verse motto for this whole Bible study journey. So I want you guys to either memorize it, just keep that in the back of your head, how as we abide in the Word, as we abide in God, that we just continue to help each other grow through this experience, okay? So here are some tools that I have that I'm going to be using during the Bible study if you guys want to actually purchase it or look it up online. So the Bible itself, that's very important to have that as a tool. I also like on YouTube something called the KJV dramatized audio version, and it's on YouTube. It's really, really good. So all the things I'm going to be saying, there's sources that I'm going to send and put on the private Facebook account, the Universe account. Okay? So another thing that I love in the Bible that I'm actually reading right now is the Life Principle Bible from Pastor Charles Stanley. He incorporates a lot of footnotes and devotionals within each chapter, and he actually uses the New American Standard Version. I prefer King James, but I'll explain that later. And Learn the Bible in 24 Hours by Chuck Missler. Halley's Bible Handbook by Henry Halley. The Glow Bible, oh my goodness, guys, you've got to check this out. It is basically a virtual reality tour of the Bible, and you can purchase it, and it's on your desktop. You can put it on your iPhone. It has MapQuest, where you can actually search where things were cited, how long it takes for people to walk from this area to another area. It has a lot of pictures and just tours that you can do a 360-degree angle of how places look. It's just beautiful. So Glow Bible. The Complete New Testament Commentary Sets by Quick Notes is really good too. Life Study of the Bible by Witness Lee. That's an online. You can get it for free, and I'll send that to you guys too. And Reading the Bible in Chronological Order. This is fun. I've been doing this with my mom since last year. So it's not Genesis as Leviticus, like it's not Genesis to Revelation. It's not chronological order. So some people think it's that, but it's Genesis, then Job, and then it goes on. So I'll give you a list of how to read the Bible in order. So that's really cool too. Now, with the NIV, I do prefer KJV a little bit better. I've been convicted by a lot of what I've researched regarding these more modernized books. Search for messages of why NIV is tainted. So they're missing 200 verses and changes some meanings of verses. So be aware of some of these newer versions. So I'll send you a link to that too. Also on our Facebook private group, please share what you all use to study the Bible as well. And another thing that came to my heart was denominations. So everyone who's here, again, welcome. We have, I'm sure, different backgrounds, different denominations. Let us not focus on that. We're here to study the Word. Please no fighting. I'm sure there's not going to be any fighting, but we're just here to build the body, and I think that's what's the most important thing. All right, so I may be the one that may actually ask a lot of most of the questions on this phone call, which is okay. So, which means we all have to be ready to help each other out with what you have learned in the reading too. Again, we're reading chapters 1 through 10. Another helpful website, when you have a lot of questions, you can go to gotquestions.org. So that also helped me out too. Also, I estimate that this meeting may be between an hour and a half, just letting you know. It all depends on how well the interaction goes today. If it's not, then that's fine. I'll continue with what I have in my outline, basically. And again, you can leave at any time. No one's forcing you to stay that long, okay? All right. And again, we'll have this recording. If you can't make it every first Tuesday of the month, it will be on the official Trackstars Universe page on Facebook, okay? So I want to end this intro with a prayer. So if you guys would bow your heads and pray with me real quick. So Heavenly Father, I am so excited to share this time with fellow believers who are itching to want to know more of your word and your beauty. Lord, thank you for this time of fellowship. Continue to mold us and shape us to how you want us to be, the church and the body of Christ. And it is in your precious and holy name, Jesus. Amen. All right. So we are ready to begin with Genesis chapter 1 through 10. So a quick background on this book. The Greek word for Genesis means origin, source, generation, or beginning. The author of this book is claimed to be Moses, believed to have written the first 5 books of the Bible. He is first discussed in the next chapter in Exodus. So this book is comprised of 50 total chapters. Remember, we're just going to go through 1 through 10 today. All right, so chapter 1 is basically the beginning of creation. We will commence with in the beginning in Genesis 1 as we delve into the beauty of when all of this all happened. And I like what one pastor said. His name is Pastor Crute from Destiny Church in Georgia. This is what he said, quote, "There are so many arguments about creationism versus the Big Bang Theory. Well, why not? I believe in the Big Bang Theory too. When God said, 'Let there be light,' then bang, there was his magnificent light and his masterpiece." So I like that quote that he used, even though it was kind of playing around with scientists. And I'm personally what people call a young earth creationist. I'm pretty sure many of you guys have heard that before. So the definition is the religious belief that the universe, earth, and all life on earth were created by direct acts of God during a relatively short period of time. And I don't really care about the time period. It's just I feel like day 1 meant day 1, day 2 meant day 2. So we are basically using a literal interpretation of what Genesis creation narrative is saying. Some people believe that 7 days may have taken thousands or millions of years for everything to take place. They use the argument in 2 Peter 3:8, quote, "But beloved, be not ignorant of this one thing, that one day is with the Lord as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as one day." So it's interesting thought, but I want to debunk that theory of the first 7 days being longer right now, if you don't mind. So because, look at Adam, for example. John created him on day 6, right? So this is in verse 26. There is no way this man would still be alive after a figurative meaning of day 7 if it were 1,000 or 1,000,000 years later. If he was created after day 7, maybe I can understand that idea, but that just does not make sense to me in this context. Another thought with Adam is how he was created. And my brother Sean, or Shantana, which you guys remember, helped me with this idea when I believe I was in like high school or something. So God created Adam as a mature being, meaning he had the ability to rule over something, in this case the Garden of Eden. He had the ability to hear God and communicate with him. So he wasn't just created as a baby. So Genesis 1:28 says, "And God blessed them, and God said unto them, Be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth." End quote. So no way was he talking to children with this command. So he was born mature. So going back to that, God did not make him as a child. The same is true with the earth and the universe. God made it as a mature form. So when I hear scientists try to age the earth using carbon dating, it's kind of impossible to do that because earth was literally born mature. So it was created looking like a billion-year-old form in a sense. So I wanted to pause for comments because I know some people might have disagreements or maybe they don't, but I wanted to open up to the floor with that idea.
I'm really glad to be a part of a Bible study, and I was just going to speak as I tend to occupy the kind of a weird niche because I am a Christian, but I'm a biologist by trade, and
that's so cool.
Yeah. So I ended up actually taking. Sorry?
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I actually went to Georgia Tech. Didn't John go to Tech too?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, I remember when I took evolution, something they mentioned like on the first day was, we're not here to prove or disprove whether or not there's a God, and we're not that's not our call as scientists. And so I guess my experience from being somewhat a lover of God as well as someone whose profession is science, I agree with the pastor when he says if God said let there be light and bang it happened. But I personally am willing to stick to believe in like carbon dating, et cetera, and not out of it. When someone uses science as a tool to disprove God, then they've turned science into a religion. And so when science really is just a process itself. So I guess for me, all that to say, to keep it personal, after I took evolution, my thought wasn't, oh no, I don't know what to believe. Oh my gosh. My actual thought was, wow, God, you're so cool. How did you do that? And so I guess like with maturity, just like the older we get, the more we understand how much our parents loved us through doing different things. That's kind of the process that I've taken from understanding science more. I've not been pushed away from God. I've actually been pushed closer to God, and my worship has actually gotten better. So that's just my own 2 cents, just as a Christian who is a scientist, not a Christian scientist, a Christian who's a scientist who's often had these conversations. I think it's a beautiful thing. It's you can't, on either side, like there are scientists out there who want to use science to disprove God, and that's a poor way of doing it. And the opposite way, using God to disprove science is personally I believe is poor training. But I'm definitely open to the Young Earth theory as well. So I hope all of my waffling. I just wanted to offer a different perspective.
I'm actually a veterinarian, so
nice.
I love science. So when I talk about this, I like to incorporate science too with the Bible.
Awesome. Yeah.
And I like, for example, I love the study of the eye itself. It is so complex, yet so beautiful. And to actually read about how it works, I'm like, I think I'm seeing behind the scenes of how God created us. So it's just really beautiful to me. And I'm glad that we're having some scientists on here too. So Thank you for sharing that. All right.
Yeah. Like I said, it's not like you're wrong. I don't think anyone's. It's one of those things I'm excited to get to heaven and talk to God about. I'm like, what the heck? Yeah.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks for listening. Yeah.
I'm going to continue now, so I'm going to just do mute again, but thanks again for sharing. All right. So thank you again. Going back to this first few verses now, I always gloss over this particular one when I was younger. Let's see here. Check out verse 2 in chapter 1. It is just a weird verse to me, so I'm going to read it. Quote, in the beginning, God created the heaven and earth. That's verse 1. So here's verse 2. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. So it's a little weird and mysterious and everything. So my first question that I was able to answer after, praying to the Lord, what does this mean? It's not a big deal anymore, but this is what my question was. So water was there in the beginning on earth. I always thought that water came at a different time, like day 2, but I was wrong. It says that the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the water. So there was something there in that void area. So let's see here. So day 2 actually is there was just a separation of water on this day. It was just separating the water in the sky, the water that's in the sky and water that's on the earth. So I don't know if you guys knew this before, but I was kind of like, oh, okay, that's what it means. So a question that I want to ask the group is this. What is this light that we are seeing in verse 3, day 1, versus when God created the sun, moon, and the stars in verse 14, day 4? So I'm going to open it up. All right. So I think I have an answer for that. So a footnote from Pastor Charles Stanley, the Bible that I'm using, he said this. Notice that there was light far before the sun, moon, and stars existed. Verse 3. God makes it clear that he is the light of the world, John 8:12, and that even when these celestial bodies pass away, the Lord God will illuminate them. So there are temporary and he is eternal. So I never thought of it that way, but apparently this light that we've seen in verse 3 is God himself illuminating the planet. So I never saw it that way, and I think it's pretty cool. So I'm going to continue. I believe, oh, no, crap. I just muted everybody. I'm sorry. Hold on. I'm so sorry. Someone was trying to say something. I actually pressed the wrong thing. Does anyone have a comment on that? Okay. All right.
You're doing great, Camille.
Oh, thank you. All right. So let's see here. I
had a quick comment. Okay, sorry, I'm trying to sneak in while we get ready for work, but I looked that up for a little while because I got into apologetics and all that good stuff. And what I saw somebody say is that the light is a mixture of the different chemicals and elements that are already created in the creation of the earth.
Okay.
And that a lot of those things could have created light on itself or in itself. But I don't know the science behind all of that. I was really bad at chemistry, but that was just something that I had heard from a scientist when I was looking it up one time.
I see what you're saying. Like sometimes algae can emit fluorescent stuff and all that stuff, but that wasn't created yet. Yeah, that's interesting though. Different mixtures and chemicals on the earth itself. All right, cool. All right. I am going to continue with chapter 2 if no one else had another comment. Okay. So this chapter discusses Adam, Eve, and the Garden of Eden. So I do want to discuss the geography of where the Garden of Eden is believed to be on earth first. So there are 4 rivers that were mentioned in verse 10 through 14. So Pishon, unfortunately, no one knows where that is. It's not identified today. Gihon, that's not identified today either. Tigris is located and Euphrates is located. So Tigris and Euphrates originate in the Caucasus Mountains region of Southwest Asia in Turkey. Flows southward and empties into the Persian Gulf. 2 locations have been suggested. One near the headwaters of the Tigris and Euphrates, and the other near the mouth of the Euphrates in ancient Babylon. Hold on one second. So, either by Turkey, north end, or Kuwait, south end. And I will send you guys a picture of where they believe the Garden of Eden was located. So another interesting thing I wanted to share with you in this chapter is something in relation to being, quote-unquote, a good person. There are so many people who believe that they will go to heaven just because they feel they are a good person. This is the question, where is good mentioned in the Garden of Eden, guys? So good is mentioned on the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. So in essence, you're kind of missing the mark. You're striving to just being a good person. It's just one of the most detrimental and biggest distractions in a person's life. That sounds harsh, but you got to understand where the word good is basically labeled on a tree that we should not eat. Let me explain. We must first seek life, which is seeking Him and Him alone in the fulfillment of God's purpose for our lives. So I know that sounds crazy, but being good doesn't mean you're saved. There is nothing wrong with being good, but just having that title alone won't get you in the kingdom. Once your full attention is focused on the tree of life, then that is what will truly keep you grounded. So remember the fruit of the Spirit in Galatians 5:22-23, quote, "But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance." Temperance, the definition of that is moderation of a voluntary self-restraint, restraining oneself from overindulgence. And that's something I need to work on. Against such thing, there is no law. There is no law. If you focus on life in obedience, goodness will naturally flow from within you because you have obtained the fruit of the Spirit. Okay? So I wanted to break that down because the first time I heard that, I was like, so what, being good is bad now? No, that's not the point. It's just a sort of like a distraction. So hopefully I explained that well. So I'm going to open it up to the floor. No one was confused about that good thing. Okay, cool. All right. Next chapter is chapter 3, and that is of the fall of man. So I've been praying to see if I should share this.
Camille, I think you just unmuted us.
I'm so sorry. I'm doing it like backwards. Did anyone have anything to say about chapter 2?
Hi. So I was just going to say I thought that was a really interesting perspective, what you said about good, like the tree of good and evil, and how that shouldn't be the, I guess, focus. I've never heard that perspective before, and like that talking about the tree is the focal point, so that was really interesting.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I heard it one time in a Bible study when I was living in Athens, Georgia, at University of Georgia, and it just blew my mind. I never thought of it that way, but it makes it easier for me to talk to someone who says, no, I'm a good person. I know I'll go to heaven. And I try to, like, sneak that in. And I'm sure I freak him out, but I think it helps sometimes.
Definitely.
All right. So now I'm going to listen carefully to this muting thing that I'm pushing. Hold on one second. Okay, I'm good. Thank you. All right, so chapter 3. All right, this is what I've been praying to see if I should share this with you all or not, because it is kind of embarrassing, but the Lord has recently been tossing me out of my comfort zone these days, so here we go. So as a woman, every month on my menstrual cycle, bear with me here, we are going somewhere. I am constantly reminded in this scene in chapter 3 where Eve first, then Adam, ate from the wrong tree and were disobedient before the Lord. Their punishments laid out in verse 16 through 19 are a bit harsh, but it is a reality. For the woman in particularly, God will greatly multiply our childbirth and in pain bring forth children. So every month I pause and truly revere and respect God's power in our lives, dear Jesus. And that is why I don't knock myself out with high dosage of pain meds or choose. This is my personal opinion. I'm not condoning or trying to persecute anybody. This is why I choose to not take birth control pills at this time, because I want to understand the punishment that is placed on us. I don't want to start getting complacent and comfortable. This is just me. So I just wanted to share this with you. Also, women, we can't forget the end of verse 16. God is saying this. And he, man, will rule over you. It still is very difficult today to be a leader over men. That is just one of the punishments that God has laid on us. So just don't be surprised that it's more difficult for us to be leading and to be president, for example. It's just harder. All right, so let's see here. I'm going to unmute if anyone had any comments. Okay, I had to basically push it twice. I figured out what's going on. Did anybody have any comments?
Okay. Wait, is someone else?
I was just going to interject real quick. I realized I'm muting my phone, and then when it's muted, I don't know what's going on. But anyway, good job, Camille. No, I just wanted to say that that's perfect timing on that, your thought process on this as far as, not taking, women can take, Midol or whatever. And I think that's definitely something to be consideration of is maybe we need to fill to full effect. And I think that goes with everything, with fasting and that consecration time as well. That's the denying of self and glorifying God in your actions. And so it's this confirmation. I totally agree. So thank you for pointing that out and being open about that.
You're welcome. There is someone who is hammering someone, I don't know, it's just loud. Let's go for that comment. This is really hard for me to do that because I don't want to make anyone feel uncomfortable. Like people who are taking birth control pills, you have a reason for doing that, and I'm not trying to toss you out the window. It's just something that I'm personally doing because I want to actually understand why God understood and that. So
yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a conviction for some people and others not. And I know God, again, he's not a God of works. It's not about all the things that we do and then he'll love us or accept us like he accepts us for how we are. But, in prayer and in speaking with him, he will make things, known to you what he wants you to do, And I think, some people, even with childbirth, some people believe in epidurals and some don't. Do I think you'll go to hell if you have an epidural? No. But that's something that I think, God has to speak to that person about it,
Awesome.
Good and interesting perspective to hear and to have. But
I can't be touched with the feeling of your infirmity on that part, obviously. But I just wanted to say that I think that probably the commonality between listening to you guys talk about that struggle between men and women, seeing that in Genesis, is that God created us for work, and that because of sin, now the work we have to do now becomes hard because it's a struggle now versus it being, I don't know, I guess like, just off the top of my head, just like hypothetically speaking, if you could lift 1,000 pounds and it not be a strain to lift 1,000 pounds, but now it's a strain to lift 100. It's like that's just a consequence of us not obeying Him is that things that were meant to be not necessarily easy but simple are now becoming more difficult for us to endure because He commanded us to be fruitful and multiply. I think that would have been something we'd be able to do, and there'd be no stress or strain behind it. Now there's pain that comes with it, as well as it, particularly with children being a blessing of being able to procreate. But now there's pain that comes with it to kind of remind us of the struggle we have to deal with because of sin.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, men have the struggle too, and we have our struggle. Thank you. All right, I'm going to mute. Okay. Thanks for your comments, guys. We're going to go hop into chapter 4, and this is dealing with Cain and Abel, the first recorded murder in the Bible. So remember, this is not the first sin, though. So we already know what Adam and Eve did. So my biggest question to ask the group is, where in the world did this other village with random people come from? This always bothered the mess out of me. So I'm referring to verse 16 after Cain killed Abel. Quote, and Cain went out from the presence of the Lord and dwelt in the land of Nod. And Nod means to wander, exile, or fugitive in Hebrew. On the east of Eden, end quote. So I'm going to open it up and see what you guys think. I was able to find an answer, but I don't know. I don't know. All right. Does anybody know the answer to this? Okay. I'm kind of excited to share my answer, but this is the most mind-boggling question to me of this whole, I think this whole book maybe is like a top question. So hold on.
Hey, Camille.
Okay. I heard someone at the end. Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, so I don't know what your answer is going to be, but I just wanted to throw out a possibility because this is one of the weirdest things, and it opens up some stuff that we may have to go back to chapter 1 on. But in chapter 1 somewhere it says that he created male and female, and some people think that Adam and Eve were the first people he made, but then he made some other random people. And the story focuses on Adam and Eve, but there were other folks, other places, and that whole line of people died off in the flood, so that it's still the same line from Adam and Eve that we have now, but there were other people that existed in the weird part of the Bible that's coming up, I guess, in future Bible studies. But that's just a theory, that Adam and Eve weren't the only ones he made at that time, but the story focused on them because they were the chosen ones that were going to carry on the legacy of his son and all that kind of stuff, but that these were some other random people he made too.
Wow. Okay.
It's either that or Adam and Eve had tons of kids. Either that or they had a ton of kids and enough kids to go make another village because they lived for a really long time. That's the other theory.
Awesome. And did you have I feel like I'm going to memorize people's voice.
I was one of the people that said I've heard that too. Somebody else said it as well.
That some people were created and then God's chosen people were the main focus. Okay.
I was agreeing with Sean. Sorry.
Okay.
Agreeing too. I remember reading about that too, and caught my attention. Had me wondering too, but what Sean said makes a little sense, I guess.
Okay.
That idea sparks if that's the case, because I don't know, so I'm asking. But if God created some other people, then when is is it working the same way as far as like when they sinned? Is that same sin transferred to them, or are they like omitted from that because they weren't there committing that act? It was just Adam and Eve committing that act.
I'm going to throw out something real quick. This is something that I heard that was completely new kind of teaching I had never encountered before. But it said that God cursed the ground. And through the ground, he cursed us because we were made out of dirt. And so if he also created other people in the same process that he created us, or Adam and Eve, then everybody was still cursed from the curse of the ground. Like if you go back and read it in Genesis, it says God cursed the ground.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. It said that Adam and Eve brought death into the world, so that affected animals and plants and everybody. So even if he put the responsibility on them first and they brought death into the world, that would have affected everybody else too.
Just FYI, if anybody wants to know, I heard that from a guy named Ron Carpenter, who I don't agree with everything that he says, but some of the stuff that he says is pretty good. So that's just the. I just wanted to pass that. What's it called? What is it called? Give acknowledgement. There you go. Sorry.
Awesome. Is there any other comments?
Well, I don't know, but I feel like I heard somewhere, probably, I don't know if that was like a older, I don't want to say denomination or group of people that believe that whoever, like those excess people were all cursed. Like, and I know that doesn't go back to like the origination of, you know, where they came from, where they originated from, but just that concept, because I know, like, I don't know if that kind of tied into like some kind of race conflict. Like that was kind of an understanding of how, you know, there are different races. I feel like I've heard that before, but again, that doesn't go to like how they were created and how they got there. But I thought that was really interesting. So, yeah.
All right. I'm liking these comments.
Can I add one thing?
Yeah. What's up?
Yeah, what's up? This is awesome, by the way, but unfortunately I have to get going because I got a basketball game. But I just want to say, could it be? This is just something I thought of. Could it be that we don't know how long it was, like how old they were at this point, and how many years has passed? And I think Sean might have mentioned it earlier when he was talking, but how, I mean, at that point, Adam and Eve might have been popping out babies, and they might have had like 500 kids by then, and you know, it was, you know, a whole other village was started because we don't know the time difference, the time lapse.
Yep.
That was just one thing. And my Bible also says that settled in the land of Nod. Says Nod means wandering. Just thought that was interesting.
Yeah. Does anybody know? I don't have a Bible in front of me. I'm out and about. Does anybody know when God told them to start producing people? Because I can't remember if that was before or after the curse.
What was the question? Start what thing to people?
When did he ask people to start? Or when did he ask Adam and Eve to actually start having children? Was that before or after the curse?
It was way before, to produce and multiply.
Okay. I was just checking. Sorry.
No, that's fine. That's a good question.
Yeah.
And remember that Eve was called like the mother. Well, I think her name means the mother of earth or something. What is it? Like she was the first to procreate, right?
Yeah.
So, all right. So remember in verse 3, it says, in a process of time it came to pass that Cain brought of the fruit of the ground an offering unto the Lord. So understand that this scene may have taken hundreds of years before it actually took place. So Adam lived to be 930 years. In his lifetime, I can see him making over 100 babies and grandchildren if Eve was able to stay fertile longer back then. After having Seth, which was the third son after Abel's death, I think Adam was 130 years, yeah? Adam was 130 years at that time, so that's verse 3. Adam had, quote, other sons and daughters, that's verse 4. It does not say the amount of children here. So I personally believe these children grew and proliferated among the earth, and Cain went to a neighboring town of siblings where he married one of his younger siblings or their niece. This may be far-fetched, but it makes some sense to me. It does not say how old he was when he had his wife. So these are all good comments. The comment of people thinking that there were people in other lands while Adam and Eve were the center of the focus of God's, it's interesting, but I've never thought of it that way. But if you think that way, then hey, you're not going to go to hell. That's all I'm saying. It's just what you feel is what's happening. But we don't know the answer. We will definitely talk to God about that. All right. The next thing is chapter 5. And this one, oh my goodness, I am so excited to share this with you. Even though this chapter is very boring, it's just talking about the descendants, I was able to find a hidden message within this descendant line. So, the first list of names, guys, let me say, question to the group is, why are we not living this long anymore? So that's the first thing I'm going to talk, then I will share with you something interesting. So why are we not living this long anymore? It's found in chapter 6. It just answers it perfectly, and we'll get there soon. So I'll answer that question later. Another reason why I like this genealogy is this discovery of the deeper meaning. So here we go. So from Adam to Noah, it lists it out. Adam means man. Seth means appointed. Enosh means mortal. Canaan means sorrow. Mahalalel, the blessed one. Jared means shall come down or descend. Enoch, this one actually is a really bizarre case of a devoted man of God when God just took him from the earth, a very puzzling one-verse description of his life. But anyway, his name is teaching. Methuselah means his death shall bring. Lamech is the despairing. And Noah, comfort. So I was able to just make sure that this was all correct. You could just look it up on Hebrew and just translate it, and it means that. So now let's read it in that specific order from Adam to Noah. Let's read it in a sentence. So this is what it says. Man is appointed mortal sorrow. The blessed God shall come down teaching. His death shall bring the despairing comfort. I jumped off my chair. I was like, Lord, you are talking to me right now. Like, where did this come from? So I was excited when I saw that. I always used to just skip through these like descendant genealogy lines, but there's hidden meaning to some things sometimes. So I thought that was amazing. All right, I'm going to open the floor. If anyone had any comments, if anything inspired them, all that sort of stuff. Hold on. I'm sorry. Hold on.
That was hilarious.
That was great.
Muted.
Do you guys understand what I'm going through? Like, I'm trying to push the button, and it makes me have to do it twice. Then it's really annoying.
I just want to say that's the most excited I've ever gotten about a genealogy in my life just now. I was like,
yeah.
When you said I found a hidden message in this chapter, I said, Lord, please tell me what the hidden message is, because
yeah.
I read genealogies going like Jesus, were you bored this day when you wrote this? Were you bored? And you said, you know what? I'm gonna get this to them so they can be just as important as I was. I'm like, I don't know. I honestly felt that way. So when you read that just now, I was like, whoa, that's amazing. Like that can't be that.
Camille, you're gonna have some of that good stuff from Leviticus too. Just FYI.
Well, I didn't go that far, but I actually just found this randomly on YouTube. There was a pastor that found it, and even like the audience were like, "Whoa!" It was so awesome. So I wanted to share that with you guys, and I was able to find that in some of my books. And so this has been like one of the most fun adventures of reading the Bible that I've ever experienced. When you have to force yourself to teach to somebody, you have to research. And I really encourage you guys to maybe even do a Bible study with your family, with your friends, wherever you're living. Like, it's really fun to actually force yourself to research the Word because you go deep. It really is cool. All right. Did anyone have any other comments? But no, that was pretty cool to me.
Can you post that in the group?
Yep, I'm posting all of the sources that I try to explain, like the maps where Garden of Eden was. I'm going to later send you, like, the Noah's Ark, what the biggest ship is out there, so you kind of compare what the Noah's Ark could have been, and all that sort of stuff.
I have a comment.
Yeah.
So something I was going to say is that I found really, like, helpful is, like, Camille has been, like, talking about, like, the Hebrew meaning of things. And I think, I can't remember the website, but you can actually, like, buy, like, Bibles with the interpretation at the bottom, like, for words, or, like, buy a separate book. But they also have websites that help you, like, interpret, like, through verses. And because I've had to do studies like that before, and it really, like Camille said, it's so, like, illuminating and, like, amazing to see how much deeper the meaning is, you know, than, like, the surface meaning that it's still amazing and deep, but, like, it just goes way deeper when you're able to, like, see the deeper meaning behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're so limited to our English language that we really do ourselves a disservice if we don't try to find out the more meanings behind the original language of the Bible. We really disservice ourselves and the kind of meaning and the extra stuff that's in there that we never catch.
Yep. So this is good. Whatever sources you guys find that I couldn't find in the chapters, please post it up because I want everyone to learn what you guys have learned too. All right? Okay, I'm going to try. It's not going to get any easier with this muting thing, so you're just going to have to bear with me. Hold on.
It's okay.
All right, so chapter 6. This involves, although very revealing, it's quite bizarre. It's basically the corruption of mankind, and the Noah's Ark is being established in this chapter, all that good stuff. So going back to that previous question is for why or how did people live that long? It's just really impressive to me. So it's answered in this chapter, verse 3. And the Lord said, "My spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh. Yet his days shall be 120 years." So this is where he's actually sealed the deal. They're not going to live longer for like 600 years anymore, or 700 years anymore. So this chapter seals that. So another, let's see here. Another question I had was, what sparked God's decision to shorten our lifespan? So let's read verse 1 and 2. Quote, "And it came to pass when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, and they were fair, and they took them wives of all which they chose." Then verse 3, which I read prior, says the shortening of the years. So I'm assuming God did not like what just happened. Another question I have, and this will be probably to the group, and I always try to have an answer for it, but I'll always open it up to the floor. So the question is, who are the sons of God mentioned in verse 2? Okay. Anybody have a comment on that?
So when I looked at this before, the sons of God were potentially fallen angels, but then it says that, and this is my study Bible, it says that some people have thought that they were, but it says in here the sons of God were probably not angels because angels did not marry or reproduce. So some schools of thought believe that the phrase refers to descendants of Seth who intermarried with Cain's evil descendants.
Yes, I've heard both of that, and the reason why I was not going to say Seth, because it just did not, it seemed fabricated, that other reason with the Seth one.
Well, what I've heard is with the sons of man being angels is that was how, I guess, the giants came to be.
Yeah.
But I don't really know where that.
Yeah, so we're all getting kind of like the same information, where it's fallen angels and quote unquote they're possibly giants too.
Yeah, I have that too.
Yeah, but I don't agree with that descendants of Seth, because it doesn't make any sense. Why are they sons of God, but then Adam's reign is not sons of God? Like, that didn't make any sense to me. But if you believe in that, that's fine. So let's see, and I will continue with what I have. It's just going to be basically what you guys are saying, but just more of with verses too. So hold on one second. I see this as the start of polygamy, and God did not like seeing men doing whatever they wanted and not restraining their lust for women. There are two interpretations. That was great. So let's see. People believe that the fallen angels or sons of God left heaven in order to mate with earthly women because they were beautiful in their eyes. Some historians said that Hercules, in the mythological realm, Hercules was called a Nephilim or something because it was between a god and a human, but that's just mythology. So in verse 4, I'm going to be reading KJV. There were giants, and Nephilim is used for other translations, in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them, the same became mighty men, which were of old, men of renown. Now correlate this verse with Numbers 13:32-33. The second and last time Nephilim, or giants, is mentioned. This verse is where Israelite spies went to check out the land of Canaan under the leadership of Moses. So, quote, and there we saw the giants, again Nephilim inserted here in other translations, the son of Anak, which come of the giants, and we were in our own sight as grasshoppers, and so we were in their sight. So in this verse, it shows that they were viewed as very large and tall people, since the spies thought they were the size of grasshoppers compared to them. So that's just answering some of our questions as we correlate it with other verses in the Bible. So hopefully that might answer your question, but that was another weird, puzzling portion in the Bible that I still have questions about. So here is something else. Let me make sure I'm where I'm at. So yeah, the next topic in this same chapter 6 is Noah and the Ark. Many of us know about Noah and the Ark. I strongly encourage you to read it. Please read it before watching any Hollywood interpretation of it. The story is very short. It covers Genesis 6-9. So a cool thing I want to point out is how this ark was the biggest or the largest ship. It's 450 feet. So it was ever built for at least 5 millennia, a.k.a. 5,000 years. So until 1899, when the 705-foot-long ship called RMS Oceanic was built. So I will send that also to Facebook so you can just kind of have an idea of how big that ship is, and then you can compare, okay, how much is 450 feet compared to that? You can have an idea of how big the Noah's Ark was. Sorry, my mouth is acting crazy. Okay. So I'm done with chapter 6. I'm going to continue with chapter 7. I'm looking at the time now, and we are approaching 8 o'clock. If you got to go, you got to go. This is going to be recorded, so don't worry. It will be on Facebook, okay? All right. And, guys, I'm so sorry that I keep on mentioning Facebook. I haven't been on Facebook for 7 years, and I do feel sorry for those who don't have a Facebook. But that's how we're doing the communication right now with TrackStars. We are also emailing information, but as far as with the sources and information, that's going to be sent directly to the Facebook private page. So if you just didn't know that, I just want to make sure you knew that. So chapter 7, it's basically when the flood commences. So an interesting point in verse 2 is how 7 pairs, not 1 pair, 7 pairs of clean animals and 1 pair of unclean animals came to the ark. I thought from movies and children's books it was just 2 by 2. But, I mean, it was, in fact, how they enter the ship in verse 9, but the movies never specify the amount per species, so I thought that was interesting. Some have calculated that there was room in the ark for 7,000 species of animals, so that was another interesting point. Noah was 600 years old when this disastrous flood occurred. 40 days and 40 nights was not how long they were drifting. That was how long the rain fell upon the earth. So if you were kind of confused about that, then there's some explanation. So that's all I wanted to share about chapter 7. It was kind of short and sweet. If anyone had any other extra information that they wanted to share to the group, let me do that. Okay. We will move on. Let me make sure that you guys are, you guys are on mute. Okay. Going back. All right, chapter 8, the flood subsides. This is what that book is about. So the waters prevailed on earth for about 150 days. Noah and family were in the ark for 371 days, so 5 months floating, 7 months on the mountain itself. And there is a scene in this chapter that only God would find delight in my personal opinion. This is verse 20 through 21. While many others would see this slaughter as an unnecessary waste. And I'll read it to you, quote, "And Noah built an altar unto the Lord and took of every clean beast and of every clean fowl and offered burnt offerings on the altar. And the Lord smelled a sweet savor. And the Lord said in his heart, I will not again curse the ground any more for man's sake, for the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth. Neither will I again smite any more every living thing as I have done." So end quote. So this scene and the scene of sending off birds to check for land reinforces the fact that it could not have only been 1 pair of each animal on the ark, or some animals would have been extinct that day. So just to clarify that, I'm going to open up the floor if anyone has any other interesting things about chapter 8. It's just a lot of statistics that I found interesting.
So I'd say I have to go ahead and get off because I'm at work now, but it's been awesome and cool. And I do want to say that in terms of God saying he would never flood the earth, I guess that this would be an overall statement for anything, is he didn't say that, well, if I'm not mistaken, I'm not looking at my Bible specifically, but he didn't say the earth would never be flooded. He just said he would never flood the earth, right?
Oh, you're asking the question was like, in the future, would he ever destroy the whole earth again, is what your question is?
Yeah, like it says that he would never flood the earth, but like it doesn't say the earth would never again be flooded. Is that accurate?
Yeah. That was actually, yes, that was my next question in chapter 9. So I could answer that for you before.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, my question was, could God still destroy the whole earth with something else? For example, nuclear warfare, biowarfare are huge threats in this day and age, but you can't forget the Black Death or the Black Plague in the 14th century. One of the most devastating pandemics in human history, resulting in the death of over 75 to 200 million people, so 30 to 60% of Europe's whole population. So if you also look in Revelation 6:8, After the fourth seal is opened and the ashen horse of death is unleashed, there is 7 total seals that must be opened. There will be another devastating disaster that God allows to happen in the future, where only 1/4, even though it's a huge population of Earth, will be wiped out from the weaponry, famine, and pestilence. So to answer to that question, God can surely use other means to destroy the earth. I don't think his plan is to destroy all of it at once, though. And in Jeremiah 5:18, it says, yet even in those days, declares the Lord, I will not destroy you completely. And when the people ask, why has the Lord our God done all this to us? You will tell them, as you have forsaken me and served foreign gods in your own land, so now you will serve foreigners in a land not your own. So this is when he was talking to Judah and Israel before they went to enslaved in Babylon in Jeremiah. So hopefully that answers your question, Jason.
Sorry, sorry, that's not exactly what I was saying was, God said that what I was saying is God said that he wouldn't do it, but for example, he said he wouldn't flood the earth, but could other things cause the earth to flood? He didn't directly cause it. You know what I'm saying? He directly caused the flood for the Noah time. But he'll say, I won't give you cancer. It doesn't mean you won't ever get cancer. It just says, I won't give it to you. That's kind of what I was saying. He wouldn't be the cause of it.
Oh.
Is what I meant. That's what I meant.
But does anybody know if I can answer, Jason? But that's a good question.
I mean, that can be tailored for later discussion. It was just, that's just an idea I had, whenever it comes to the flood, because, we don't know what's going to happen in the future, but, if the earth were to flood for some reason, and people would try to debunk it, I'm thinking, futurist, but if anything were to ever happen, people might try to debunk the Bible and say, well, God said he wouldn't flood the earth again, but just because he said he wouldn't flood it doesn't mean it won't flood on its own or by other reasons. Now, somebody else might.
So you don't believe that God will control the flood or future floods to happen?
Well, I know the idea. I don't think God controls every little aspect of this earth and our actions and everything that occurs. I think there's some things that he may cause, but I don't think he controls every little aspect of life itself.
For example, where Job was being kind of destroyed because Satan God allowed it to happen, but Satan was the one that caused all those problems.
I mean, yeah, that could be a comparable idea.
Interesting.
Anyway, I'm going to get out of here. Y'all enjoy the rest of the Bible study. I can't wait to listen on playback.
Have a great day. Okay. All right, guys, so it's just 2 more chapters. Let me make sure. Yeah. So basically that question that I answered incorrectly was mainly chapter 9. So something interesting in chapter 9 was how I did not realize that before this chapter, eating meat was not a part of our diet. God allowed us to eat meat in verse 3. Every moving thing that liveth shall be meat for you, even as the green herb have I given you all things. So I'm like, okay, cool. So in the past, I guess it wasn't you are allowed to, but maybe you could have in the past, but he kind of just says you can eat meat here. And, yeah, that question kind of was most of that. And, I also wanted to discuss the scene in Moses' vineyard. This is actually really important. That begins in verse 20. After leaving the ark, Moses planted his own vineyard and got himself drunk and was naked. His youngest son, Ham, saw him, and instead of covering his father's shame and immodesty, Ham broadcast his findings to his elder brothers, Japheth and Shem, the eldest. His older brothers covered their father respectfully, and Noah blessed them but cursed Ham. And interesting enough, the Canaanites were the descendants of Ham. They were to be a servant of servants, which is what it says in the Bible. So my question was, why was Ham cursed so badly, for one thing, but Noah went about his business like nothing happened? Shouldn't he be punished too? This scene always bothered me when I read it. And also in verse 21 is the verse that it's the verse that confirmed to me that wine back then was not simply grape juice. It could indeed intoxicate you, like how it did with Noah. When I was young, my parents said that Jesus did not drink wine. It was grape juice back then. This proves otherwise if you were as ignorant or gullible as me when I was younger. Okay? Does anybody have any questions before I go to chapter 10? All right.
Well, I know you were, Camille, I think you were saying you didn't understand why the, son was punished and Noah wasn't. Mm-hmm. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I mean, I don't really know why Noah wasn't, but I feel like it was out of a, level of honor for, their father, because I feel like what you see in a lot of the Old Testament, there's just this, high reverence and just honor, that's just all throughout, which, I mean, it's not even just the Old Testament, but I feel like that's kind of what that was. But I don't know, it kind of, that first part where you said, you don't understand why Noah wasn't punished kind of reminds me of the, I can't remember the story. Was it Abraham when he went, to the king and he said it was his, Sarah was his sister? Is that the right name?
Yes.
And he didn't even get in trouble, but the king was punished. So, I don't know. I guess it's there just seems to be this, part of God where he'll still honor sometimes even when it doesn't make sense to us. It's just I don't understand, but he still protects and honors us too. But yeah.
Gotcha. So him to not cover his father caused him to be hurt that badly. But I understand you have to honor your father and your mother, even if your father made many mistakes. Okay, I got it.
Yeah, I kind of look at this story I'm pretty sure there's probably some kind of cultural context that may not be relevant to us right now. Mm-hmm. That kind of leaves some blanks for me, but just looking at it from face value, it's the fact that he didn't look out for him. He just ran off and told it versus trying to make sure he wasn't exposed. Ham just ran off and told. While the brothers, when you see their reaction, they walked in backwards so they wouldn't even see him as a sign of respect, I guess.
Yeah.
To say, okay, he's naked, we don't want to see this, we want to honor our father, we're going to just walk in backwards and just make sure that we cover him before anything else. So I don't know if that's kind of a sign of immaturity for Ham or what, but I think that's probably why. I think that's where the cultural context kind of comes into play of why he's so outraged. Mm-hmm. And he's I guess we would have to kind of translate it to something that we consider in 2017 to be really disrespectful. That would just kind of have us really angry. And that's how he's responding to that. You've done one of the most disrespectful things you could ever do to your father. And so now this is your consequence for it.
Thank you, guys. That really helped me out. It's really good. All right. We'll be going to the last chapter. It's going to be the descendants of Noah. So this descendant line is not as exciting as the hidden one that I talked about earlier. But hold on, there's someone trying to call me. I'm trying to end it. Okay. Now, Noah's sons are what caused the spread of the many races that we have today. I'll go from oldest to youngest. Shem's lineage, which begins in verse 21, included, based off of what theologians and historians have included, they are the Jews, the Syrians, and Elamites. So Side note, with the Elamites before the great Achaemenid Persian Empire of the 5th century BCE, Elamites were the most influential people to hold dominion over the regions east of Mesopotamia and what is now southwestern Iran. So those are basically the genealogy below Shem's lineage. All right, so then the next brother is Japheth, and his lineage it begins in verse 2, and that is the progenitors of the Caucasian races of Europe and Asia. All right, and lastly, Ham's lineage, which, remember, he was cursed by his father, beginning in verse 6, included what people believe to be the African races of South and Central Arabia, Africa, and eastern shore of the Mediterranean. From the descendants of Canaan came Hittite, I'm not pronouncing this right, and the Sinaites, whose descendants are the Chinese. So remember what I am about to say, because I never heard this before. This curse of Ham has often been used against people. It has been used by some slave owners in America between the 17th and 18th century with black people. It has been used to support the supposed superiority of the white race, as well as justification for slavery and all kinds of discrimination. I'm sorry, but that's really crazy to me, to use a curse from a drunken from the excuse to abuse the power over an entire race. But apparently that has been used against us today. So does anybody have any comments about that chapter? Do they find anything interesting? Okay.
Hello?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know I was unmuted.
I realized since it was like the last chapter, I'm fine to not change it.
Oh, okay. So what group of people were you referring to that were cursed?
The descendants of Canaan, basically the descendants of Ham. They're considered the African race. And how they were basically being discriminated by Ham's curse to be used against them in America.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think that was similar to what I was saying earlier when I was talking about the curse, except that was, I guess, for Cain and, like, the people that I was talking about earlier. I'd heard that, but I guess there's different ones for that with the cursed people. But, yeah, it is very strange.
It is very strange.
Pastor Fred Price out in California did a teaching series. It was some years ago now. It had to be at least 10 or so years ago, or actually probably longer than that. He did a series called Race, Religion, and Racism, where he talked about that, and I guess that was basically something that started in America, was slave owners were saying that Ham and his son were cursed to be black, and that's what they used as a way as justification for discriminating against black people in America. And how they came up with that, I don't know, but he was saying that was something that was going around, that was very prevalent, and that was something that started here, like I said, as a justification for slavery.
Hello. Hi. This just kind of like just struck a chord with me, because a lot of people, and this is not to offend anybody on the call, who are like quote unquote woke, kind of use that, like they say, well, black people shouldn't be Christian because it's what the slave masters used to enslave us. But I just feel like anybody can pervert anything.
Yeah.
You know, anybody could pervert anything to bring a group of people down, but that's not what Christ is about. So clearly they weren't following what the word says. So it just kind of struck a chord in me, because it just reminds me of things that people are posting these days on social media.
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah, a lot more these days. Like, what is going on? So yeah, it's really good.
Quick thing.
Come.
Hey, so I honestly just wanted to add on to that. Just one point. I kind of find it interesting that you have people nowadays saying that in regards to Christianity being used to oppress blacks and things like that. The interesting part about it, especially if you're a believer, one thing that we have to recognize is even if it was used in the wrong context, those people using it in the wrong context back in those days are still being held accountable by God. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I mention that is when we all die, we have to face God for what we did accomplish and what we didn't accomplish. And so one of the things that I know I'm not going to be able to look at God and say, a holy, righteous God, and say, well, God, I didn't believe because they used our faith against us. Mm-hmm. So I just want us to take that into account, that regardless of how it was used, we're all going to be held accountable.
Yeah.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
Amen.
That's awesome. All right, guys. Well, this is the end of the call. Okay. The next Bible study will be next month. It'll be the first Tuesday of every month is what we're going to try and pursue. And it will be the lovely and beautiful Ashley Kaur. She's going to be leading it next month. And there's going to be special surprises in the future. We're going to have some special guests leading too, and one of them is actually on the phone right now. So it's pretty cool. All right, guys. Well, you have a blessed day, all right? Take care.
Thank you.
Good
Thank
night.
you, guys. Love you all.
All right, you guys have a good one.
Love you.
Peace.
Bye.